Yo, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. We have two special guests with us today on this episode. That is Dave and Bree. These two graduated with us. When I say us, I'm speaking for me and Dylan. We all graduated in the same class, and Dave actually reached out to me at the end of July and asked if he could be on the podcast to share his story a little bit. And he didn't think he was a full-blown addict, but he realized the path he was going down, and it wasn't a good one. So he wanted to hop on here and share his story in hopes to help others, which was his goal throughout this podcast, was to help others maybe change their life or have a different perspective on things. So they're here as a whole family. It's Dave, Bree, and their little one. We'll get to the podcast. Here's the new episode. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Welcome to the podcast, Dave and Bree.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, and I remember you reaching out to me, and you seemed a little nervous at first.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's when anybody's talking about addiction, you always hear the extreme stories where everybody's already way down that path. Mm-hmm. Not very often do you hear about when somebody's headed down that road and can either realize it before it's too late or things like that. So I thought it'd be nice to try and share my story to see if it could help anybody before they get too far down that road.
Yeah, and I remember you asking me to come on here, and you said you didn't know how to reach out and help other people, and I told you I was the same way as far as I knew I wanted to help people, and I didn't know how. So like I said, the one day I was just trying to think of something we could do, and the podcast came in mind, and now this is the way that I express myself to others in hopes that we can help other people. So I'm glad to have you on so you can actually chip in and try to help others also. So do you want to start, as far as growing up, what was your childhood like?
Childhood was good. I mean, my parents, they worked a lot, but it was loving family, nothing crazy like that.
The average lifestyle.
Yeah, average, blue collar family,
Right.
In my family, though, there's been mental health issues and stuff like that, and alcoholism. But even on that, my parents have told me alcoholism runs in the family, and sometimes I've even thought it's good to know that information, but sometimes on the other hand, you think, oh, if somebody in my family has alcoholism or substance abuse problems, that maybe I'm more prone to it, or it's more acceptable if I have it also. But I've wondered if you didn't know that information, are you still as prone to it or susceptible to it?
Yeah, right. We just learned last podcast that you can carry a gene, right?
That's today's podcast. I don't know if you had a chance. It's still early in the day.
No, I didn't
Okay.
listen to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, and that's what I asked my mom before I did this, if she was cool with it. And
Does your parents know all the stuff that you're about to talk about?
Not
Not
really.
all of it.
Well, that's what I told my mom about, and she was like, well, I don't even know what all you did. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, you name it, I've probably done it. But
The cool thing is it's in the past now, so
yeah. And I haven't done anything. I said 2013 to you, but I thought about it a little more, and it's really been 2012. And
the year we graduated.
Yeah, and it's. I still drink every once in a while, but
Yeah.
Maybe once a month or something like. I'm not huge. Not huge,
Right.
huge drinker, but even here lately, I've realized to a point where there's some time, depending on the situation, I know that I just can't drink because it's either you have one drink and that's it. And to me, it's like, what's the point
What's
of
the
having
point? Yeah.
one drink? But then if I get to like 2 or 3 drinks, it's like you don't want to stop till
Yeah.
you either go to sleep or whatever, you know?
Right.
So even in that aspect, I've realized that it can be a problem, but I'm at least aware of it.
That's good.
That's really good.
So you had a blue collar family, like blue collar life, whatever you want to call it, growing up. When did drugs come into play? Did you say high school, junior high?
Yeah, high school, I think the summer going into high school was the first time I smoked weed, and it was, I don't know, I guess just people around me were doing it, and I guess more of a curiosity thing. And
Yeah.
well, it's funny because I don't know if, like, how much you guys know about it, but some people say the first time you smoke weed you don't get high, and I didn't get high, so I was like, well,
What'd you experience?
what's the big deal about it? I didn't.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard that you don't get high after the first time.
Yeah, I didn't feel anything.
Honestly, I've never tried weed in my life.
Just hurt my throat and made me cough a bunch. But,
My parents tried it.
I had that same
Yeah.
experience. I tried it one time. It burned the whole way down, and I was like, I don't even need this stuff. Like,
yeah.
that
So,
was years ago.
but even that, I was like, so what's the big deal? And eventually, the people that were hanging out with did it, so just tried it again and just went from there. And it started out as like just an every once in a while thing, and it stayed like that for a good while. And I think, I don't know, probably like around 10th or 11th grade, started doing pills here and there. And that was like just an every once in a while thing too.
Is this something you did on your own, or, like out of curiosity, like your first time with marijuana, or was it because you were hanging out with certain people?
Probably hanging out with certain people, and I mean, curious too.
Yeah.
And like, I know you said something about you wanted to talk about like education in the schools. And
Yeah.
the thing I thought about it, like, you have these teachers that are talking about it, and at least in my opinion, I could always tell that they're just reading out of a book.
Yep.
They don't have any firsthand experience with it, and you don't know if what they're saying is full of shit or
Right.
if that's just what they've been told. They don't really have any idea. So
Yeah.
And really, do they understand it? Or like you said, are they just reading it because they're told they have to cover this in class? So do they understand it? Do they want to understand it? Or are they just textbooking?
yeah,
I think
get
you have
out
both
And
sides.
just like, check mark, I did that. I did my part.
You can't really connect on a level. If, say, I'm a user, I'd rather connect. I can connect better with a teacher that probably is a user than if someone that's, like you said, just reading out of a textbook. You can have that connection with them.
yeah. And you can, I mean, anytime you can speak from experience, it's better than just
Yeah.
reading something out of a book.
Right, so let's face it, a teacher's not going to admit, hey, I'm a user. I mean, they're going to lose their job. Or if they were a past user, they might still lose their job if they research. But they can bring a guest speaker in
Yeah.
of someone like you today who's, here today to speak. Like, they're going to react better to that. I always say, like, they bring a police officer into these schools, even in the elementary school and the junior high, and they talk about drugs. Well, the kids already either have some type of experience with the police or they don't like the police and they're not going to listen to what the police have to say. So someone who can relate to them and can tell their story from an earlier age is the one they're going to connect with. And that's a guest
Yeah.
speaker versus someone who doesn't know.
Yeah, and I mean, even kids, no matter how young they are, they can tell that it's more real coming from somebody that's been through those experiences and
Yep.
things
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah, so I was trying to think when I asked you about going through school and learn about drugs and not what to do and stuff like that. I don't really remember too many like serious people coming in, even guest speakers coming into school and talking about that. I mean, I always remember like say nope to dope and stuff like that, but like
Yeah, I don't think we really had any in our school, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember anything either.
Maybe like a few like cheesy videos, but no real guest speakers.
Yeah, and I think the way I learned was, I mean, Kyle. I mean, I watched him grow up, and like the interactions you guys had, parents with Kyle, and I didn't want those those reactions with me, so I kind of just learned from him. I don't know how you feel, Dylan.
It's pretty much the same thing. Just watching him get yelled at by mom and dad versus me.
It was enough to say no, I ain't doing that stuff.
Yeah, well, and I had older siblings that got in trouble for similar things, and I even remember my parents saying like, learn from your older siblings or something like that, and maybe in my head it was learn how to not get caught or something.
If you don't mind me asking, you said you did marijuana and then pills. What else did you? Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I can. I mean,
So you went to pills, and then how that was 10th and 11th grade, you said?
yeah, somewhere around there. I mean, for me, it's like once you start doing that stuff, and for me personally, it was like I was kind of trying to find like the way that I thought I should feel, or like the way that like I was supposed to be feeling or something like that. And so it was like try whatever was available to experience it to see if that's what I'm looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you actually had an idea in your head of how you wanted to feel.
Yeah.
And you were searching, trying all different things to get to that feeling.
Was that based off the marijuana at first, or was this before the drugs? Like you had that, like.
Yeah, I guess off the like marijuana and pills, and because I mean it is a better feeling than you normally have, but some things will either make you like real tired or real anxious or something like that, and
It affects
just
everybody
or
different.
like I guess just looking for that perfect high or something.
Yeah.
Don't they always say the first high is the best high, and that's what you're always looking for
I think Tio mentioned that in the podcast.
when you're trying all these other drugs? You're looking for that first high again.
Yeah, I don't know if many people would really say that for like doing marijuana though.
Okay.
I remember, I think it was the summer going into 12th grade. Somebody had liquid Oxycontin, I think it was, and took that, and that was one thing that it hadn't felt anything that good before, and it was like you guys said, trying to search for that same kind of feeling again.
Yeah.
But
So you always compared everything after that to the liquid oxy, and that was instant. You felt that reaction right away, right?
yeah, pretty
The
much.
effect of that.
Yeah, I mean we just drank it, and
So you just drink it.
yeah,
Okay.
if I get, I mean,
There's probably different,
yeah,
different ways of taking it, I
it's
guess.
like one of those things where somebody's like, "Hey, I got this," and they say this is how you do it, so you're like, "All right, let's do it." You don't ask too many questions. But even like from, I mean, jumping back a little bit from, well, I would say once we did the liquid oxy, I think things started going a little downhill from there. But even before that, I mean, tried mushrooms, acid, research chemicals is what we call them. Some people might call them bath salts.
Oh yeah.
It's just something that somebody somehow knows what to buy online, and it shows up in the mail. And I mean, there's these different chemicals that they are synthetic drugs, so it'll give you the same effect of whatever the real thing is, but they could just buy it online.
Right. So did you judge yourself at all when you were doing this kind of stuff? Did you like see yourself in the eyes of an outside person?
Yeah, I mean, even
Just the stigma, I guess you want to call it.
yeah, a little bit. I mean, even I'm the youngest child, and sometimes just being the youngest one, you can feel like a little bit of an outsider if like all your siblings are like ganging up on you or something like that. And
Dylan knows how that feels.
is he the youngest?
No, yeah, he actually
by
is.
7 minutes.
Me and Kyle used to gang up on all the time.
Yep.
He
Yeah.
said that's what we molded him to now because he always picks on everybody else now.
Yeah, you guys did it to me.
Yeah.
Now you call me the a-hole.
Yeah, and always not quite fitting in, so you just don't feel like you're part of the group or whatever. And then, I mean, at some point, you kind of just decide like, well, I don't want to be a part of that group anyway, so I'm
Yeah.
going off with these other people, and
Doing your own thing.
yeah, we're not gonna like do like the high school like whatever the typical stereotype is, you know.
Gotcha.
But
Before you started using drugs, how did you see people using drugs? Like, how did you view them? What was your perception on drug users?
I don't know if I really had that much thought into it. I mean, like, cause like what we were talking about in school, like, I even never really had like that much thought that I was like, oh, these are like the worst things ever. I was like, well, I know people do it, so it, like can't be terrible or something. I don't know. I never really thought too much about drug users. I mean, and I really wasn't exposed to that either, but
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's why I didn't really think about it, because I didn't really know anybody that was at least openly using drugs often.
Yeah. So you went through 10th, 11th, and then 12th. Tried mushrooms, liquid oxy, anything else? You said you stopped using 12th grade after you graduated?
Yeah. 12th grade, like after, I mean, we had been doing stuff pretty heavily. And I mean, like you start to not even realize that it's abnormal. Like it would I'd actually wake up early to go to my friend's house so we could smoke before we go to school. And that was literally every day.
So it was your new routine every day?
Yeah. So I don't think senior year I went to school sober once.
Really?
Yeah. And
so you had a connection in high school. Did you ever know that?
I never knew that. I never knew that.
I think I had a couple classes with you or something like that.
yeah.
But I never.
I think it was
never
tech
would've
ed. It
guessed.
was more tech ed
I think
classes
it
because
was,
we were
yeah.
always in tech ed wing.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have never even thought.
Yeah, and so smoke weed every day before school, and I mean pretty much as soon as you get there, try to find out who has pills, because you don't want to go the whole day sober, and that many people in that school, somebody's got something.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't always what you wanted, but you'd take what you could get.
Right.
And then after school, go home, smoke weed right away, and then either drink or do whatever till the next day.
You were a lacrosse player, weren't you?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing I wanted to, like, people say doing sports will help kids stay out of trouble and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of that is true, but I mean, if you want to find trouble, you're going to find trouble. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
how busy you are. I mean, it definitely didn't do as much stuff when we were playing lacrosse, but I mean, there's even times like drank before games or got high before games or like practice or whatever.
Did it make you play better?
I don't think so.
Just curious.
I was mentally more focused.
I don't know. It might take the nervousness away of the game, you know? You just
Yeah, before the
relax and you just play. But
Well, I know. I think I only actually drank like once before a game, and that might have been a little more physical that game.
Gotcha. You ever take a shot on goal and completely miss, like way off?
Coach is like, what the fuck's wrong with this kid?
I do remember one time we were playing summer lacrosse. So it was like just a group of kids from different schools and stuff like that. And like we were smoking in between games. And
Where'd you do it, in cars?
yeah, cars, like in the bushes, wherever you couldn't get caught. But because that we were like, I don't know, I think we were like somewhere around like State College or something like that. So everybody had like hotels with their parents and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like me and a couple other guys, and like smoked in between games. I probably smoked a little bit too much, and was like zoning out a little bit in the game. And the other kid I was playing next to, he's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you, man?" He's like, "Did you smoke in between games?" He was like, he got super pissed because he was trying to take it real serious, and it was just like, we were like, whatever, it's just summer lacrosse. It's not like it really matters. But
And all these parents in the hotels were oblivious to all this.
I'm pretty sure.
You don't even know?
If they did, they
Okay.
didn't say anything.
Okay.
What did you always say? You were going to find out eventually, Mom?
I always said that.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll always find out.
Yeah, you always just say that all the time.
His mom might be finding out right now.
Yeah. Well, that's what, I mean, my parents knew that I was doing stuff. I know they didn't know to what extent, for sure. And so, like, when I was talking to my mom before I came on this, just to, like, get her thoughts on it, yeah, I don't think they really had any clue of how severe it was. There was one time I got caught with my friends smoking weed in the house, and my dad was super pissed. And
Was he going to kick you out?
no, he didn't ever say anything like that. I mean, it was probably the maddest I've ever seen him. But then, I mean, the next day, he just like sat us down and had a talk with us, and was like, I don't know. That's how they usually dealt with. I mean, I never got yelled at by him or anything. Like,
Yeah, you just knew.
yeah, the more disappointed than anything kind of talk.
Yeah. I want to get your guys' opinion, Mom and Dad, on this. You guys tried marijuana, correct? Yes.
Yes.
Way back.
Way, way, way back.
Now, I remember when Kyle did it and he got caught, your reaction was like through the roof, correct?
Mine, no.
What about yours?
I don't know. What do you mean?
I think so.
Like,
I think it was.
There was.
wasn't
I remember.
So
that.
I'm trying to get at is-
I think Mom said that she didn't go through the roof, but they were both disappointed.
Knowing that you guys did it yourself and then finding out your own kid did it, what's your reaction? Like, what's going through your head? Knowing that you've already done that, you tried it, and then you find out your kid does it.
Well, I wasn't pissed. I was disappointed, and the reason I'm disappointed is because I got a phone call from a police officer, and I had to go pick him up at the police station.
Yeah, but did you tell your parents you tried weed? Did you? That's what I'm saying. Like,
Kyle didn't tell them. He got caught.
Yeah.
The police officer told
what I'm
them.
trying to say, did you tell your parents? Or did they get a call? Or did they even find out?
Well, I probably told Grammy because that's the relationship I had.
I'm trying to get at here.
Grammy.
Why is your reaction over the top when you guys tried it yourself?
Yeah, I think it's a disappointment.
Or was it more that you guys were angry that he got in trouble for it?
By the law, I guess.
Yeah.
Instead of not by the law.
That's
See-
a good question.
You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. That's a good question. I wasn't.
So why these parents growing up, they want to hound their kid about don't do this? Is it because they learn themselves like that it's not worth it, so they don't want their kids going through their footsteps?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
I mean, we can ask Dave here. He's got a young kid here
Yeah.
now. What would your opinion be if I'm not saying that they would? But
that's what I mean. I've even thought about it. If my kids started doing drugs, I honestly don't know what, like, I mean, obviously there's no handbook. What's the right thing to
Yeah.
do? And I've been in that situation, and I don't know what the right thing would be to do. And I think definitely everybody's different. I
I mean, you would be disappointed, right?
Well, and I don't even know if I'd be disappointed. I wouldn't be happy, that's for sure. But
'Cause, I mean, you're more aware of what could happen or what
yeah,
Because you
and-
experienced it.
because you experienced it.
yeah, and I think that's where like the education of where, yeah, it just starts out as one thing and can lead to so many other and spiral from there. I think what I was like before I was on here, I was kind of trying to think of that scenario, and what hopefully I could do is in with my daughter is give her enough love and support and self-worth and confidence to, even if you get in a bad place, that if you have that self-worth that you know it's not good for you, or there's better ways to deal with things and that sort of thing.
Right.
That's very well put, Dave. Very nicely said. I think, like, you're asking this question, so now I'm sitting here dwelling on it. I was upset, not because I did it, but because when we did it, it wasn't as prevalent, which is not an excuse.
That is
I
an
was gonna
excuse.
And we
say,
tried
everybody
it. We,
says that.
We tried it one time. It was a bad experience. And I didn't need it. I didn't need the alcohol. Like, did I drink? Yes, I drank too. But I didn't need it. I guess my disappointment was with Kyle is that he was in trouble for it. Had to go to the police because if you remember, after that, he still did it. And
Yeah.
I remember accepting that he still did that. And I didn't really say anything. I mean, matter of fact, if he owed me rent money, I put the note in the bag that I found in his room. You owe me rent, in the marijuana bag. And he would tell his friend, oh, my mom found my marijuana again. She put a note in it that I owed her rent money. So I wasn't pissed that he did it. I was pissed that he got in trouble for doing it because the way he did it was the stupidest thing he ever could have done in an open parking lot in the middle of the night. In the dark with your light on in your car, sitting by yourself.
The only car in the parking
The
lot.
only car in the parking lot. Like, you're asking for a police officer to pull in and ask you what you're doing. So I was upset about that. I was upset that it was going to ruin part of his life going forward because now he had it on his record. So he always said to me, I could be doing worse. And that's the point that I thought, okay, I'm grateful that he's just doing marijuana. Little did I know he was just doing everything else too. But that was his excuse to me. How many times he said, it could be worse. I'm just doing marijuana. So I guess I was upset how he got caught doing it, not necessarily that he did it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, looking back, it was stupid how he got caught. But now knowing all what I know about Kyle, I would clearly accept the fact that he was doing marijuana.
Like you want.
Like that would be the least of his worries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's more acceptable now to do marijuana, so I don't think that's a big deal. So
Well, and I think as from a parenting standpoint, you definitely want your kids to have the most opportunities possible to them. So if there is one thing that could close an opportunity for any possible reason, it can be disappointing or.
Yep.
Yeah, like every time I see a little kid or a little baby or anything like that, it's crazy to think the world that they're gonna be growing up in. It's a lot different than what it used to be,
Yeah.
especially now.
That's why we're doing this. So awareness, because if we can be aware and kids are responsible and they're understanding of it and it starts soon in the education and to your point, having the self-confidence in yourself, that's key.
I mean, what do you think about that, Dylan? You're having a kid.
I mean, to be honest,
Do you think about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think about it all the time. I've talked to Tori about it plenty of times about I don't want to have a kid because I don't want to be in that situation. And I've told plenty of people that.
But you decide to have one anyway.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't. I was told by multiple people you can't worry about that. It's just you grow up, the kid's gonna make their choices, and you just teach them what you know and teach them the best way that you can do, and you can't control them their whole entire life. Like you can't be there beside them and holding their hand and make every decision for them. So all I can do is raise our kid the best we can and what we know, and that's it. After that, they're off and doing their own thing.
And that's the cool thing about this podcast is they can listen to it and learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anybody that has done drugs and been like, oh, I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to do that.
Yeah.
So
shoot.
It's not one of those things that like, oh, I just didn't know. It's
Yeah.
they made that choice, and hopefully you can give them the guidance and support. Like, I
Yep.
mean, even beforehand, telling like your child or whatever that if this situation does happen, we're here for you, and we're supportive no matter how bad it is in that way. Because me, honestly, no matter how bad it was, I was not going to let my parents know what I was doing at no matter what, at all costs, pretty much, because I didn't want them to know. And I'm sure they would have been supportive, but
Yeah.
I still didn't want them to be disappointed, I guess. And so, like, even if I ever thought, like, I need to go to rehab or something like that, I probably would have just kept to myself and tried to get through it to myself.
I feel like I'd be the same way. I'm very independent, so. Oh.
That's okay. So share with us back to the high school. How did Bree get involved with this?
I don't really know how I got involved other than
You guys started dating in high school, right?
Yeah.
like maybe the beginning of our senior year, but
Did
When
know
you when you first met Dave, were you aware of what he was doing?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I knew like when I first like met him and got together with him, it was like I only knew he was smoking weed. I had no idea. Even like some of the stuff that he's saying like today, I didn't really know about
Really?
fully. I didn't want to know really.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
I think I could tell that she didn't really want to know, and obviously I didn't want to put it out there because
Yeah.
in high school you don't know how somebody's going to react and be like, all right, this guy's
Whack.
yeah, well, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I don't know. My parents, they found out I smoked weed one time. Like, I've smoked weed a couple of times, but my parents found out the one time they found out I never touched it again because I thought my parents were going to kill me.
Really?
Like, they were ready to, like, send me off somewhere. They were not happy. They weren't happy.
They scared you into stopping.
Yeah, for sure. But I definitely don't know a lot of things that Dave has done. It doesn't bother me though anymore because it's like I see where he's at now and he's come a long way. So.
How'd you support him? Did you feel like you had to? Did you feel like more of the weight was on you than him as far as through his...
Yeah, he definitely was not always the nicest to me about it. He was pretty brutal, like very mean sometimes, but I don't know.
How did you come out of this? So you said in high school you stopped after high school. So
We'd been, just smoking weed, doing pills, and, it kind of get progressively worse, and like starting to hang out with older people that were more into that kind of stuff. And there was one time we were at somebody's house and he had I don't know, he might have been like 3 or 4 year old, and the dad was snorting pills off the table. His kid was just hanging out. And I mean, a kid at that age just wants to do what anybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And then then I see the kids like reaching for like the straw or whatever he was using on the table. And I mean, I don't think that he would have let anything happen, but I mean, it's one of those things that you never know, because you could fall asleep on the couch and the kid can get into whatever. And
Scary.
there's another time that I was buying pills from somebody, and this was somebody that was like kind of a hard ass, like you thought didn't really care about anybody else and stuff like that. And I was buying the pills from him, and like he said something like, you shouldn't be doing this, and like you're gonna fuck your life up. And I was like, kind of laughed at him and thought, I was like, yeah, I know, like didn't really think he was serious.
Yeah.
But then he actually like started getting like choked up.
Really?
And because he was already like far down that path, and I was like, all right, maybe he's a little serious about this.
Yeah.
And I was like, things like that started making me second guess what I was doing. And even the people that I was hanging out with, it wasn't always like just about having a good time anymore. It started turning into like, I just need this stuff. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't getting to be a good situation. And I mean, thankfully I realized it when I did, because I mean, even, it could have been as short as 2 or 3 more months, and that could have been enough to like,
Yep.
I mean, and the thing is, I think once you get more of like a physical dependency on it, that's a whole nother level. And there was 2 things that, I did do heroin, I don't know, maybe like 5 times or so, but the people around me were doing it more often. And there was 2 things that people that did it more would say to you, or that were selling it to you would say. They would say, 1, if you're snorting it, you're wasting your money. And 2, once you shoot it into your veins, you're done. Like, you're hooked, like, for sure. And so I think I paid attention to that a little bit too.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to shoot this into me. And there's people next to me that said the same thing, but it ended up happening. And they have had some serious struggles with it.
Yeah. Yep. So what are you doing now, as far as your life? I mean, you have a kid.
Yeah, have a kid, have a house.
And she's beautiful, by the way. She's laughing.
Thank you.
She's over here smiling.
Work.
You've been into the woodworking more now.
Yeah, I've just kind of recently got into that as something else to do. And I mean, right now I work in a warehouse and pays good, but it's not like super fulfilling job.
I know when you came to me, you were saying about you weren't sure if you should tell your story because it might throw people aside or not pay attention to you or whatever you want to call it. But I honestly think like you telling your story, it connects you with people. People connect to that.
Yeah, and I did think about that a little bit more from what you said, and I was like, the people do want to connect if they're.
You could just lay it here. I have a couple more.
They want to connect with somebody if they're buying something from them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not.
Connect with the brand.
Yeah, not just a faceless company or whatever.
Yeah, because you think about if you go out and buy, I don't know, a certain item, you want to connect with that item. You don't want you want a story behind it or something.
And then I obviously if you're trying to run a business, you want to have as many customers as you want. But I mean, if there's people out there that are closed-minded enough to say, oh, this guy's done drugs in the past and I don't trust him to make me something or like rip me off or whatever, then that's
I think it makes your items that much better. It has a story behind it.
Yeah, and I mean, and even, like, that's the other thing. Like, when I was doing drugs, I mean, I had, like, no real motivation to do, like, anything. It was just, like, get high and sit there.
Just what you felt your life was
about. Yeah, and I mean, like, because I've looked back on it and, like, seeing, like, there's people in high school that were, like, doing so much more stuff and, like, it almost feels like I don't think I got like a really late start on like starting my life, but definitely didn't help myself out in any way. Didn't get a jump start.
Yeah.
Because I mean, once I was deciding that I'm not going to be doing drugs anymore, it was kind of had to distance myself from everybody I hung out with. Like,
yeah, I remember you telling me that too.
Like, I couldn't, like, and I mean, I tried to hang out with them, and it was just either, like, the peer pressure to keep doing it, or just, I knew I couldn't put myself in that situation anymore, and so it's lost all my friends, or left all my friends, and had to figure out how to act while being sober and how to deal with your problems in a healthier way. And I mean, that was just a big adjustment for anybody. And I mean, I didn't really reach out for help from anybody. I mean, Bree helped me just being supportive. I mean, I never really asked her to help me with anything.
Right. Yeah, it goes back to you are who you hang out with. So, like you said, you're going to find that trouble if you want.
Yeah.
So you've never been in any rehabs or anything? You just pretty much put your mind to it and didn't get to the point where you needed the rehab. You actually took the advice of the people that were using it that told you not to.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's what, in a weird way, when you're in that circle of people, I mean, anybody kind of looks up to older people around them, but people that have been doing things longer than you have, you just kind of look up to them. But when they start to say, hey, you shouldn't be doing this, or like when you see that they need to have Suboxone around just so that if they can't get pills or heroin, they're not feeling sick, that you tell yourself, is that really what you want to do with your life, or you really want to be that dependent on something? And I just decided that's not how I wanted to live.
Did you ever feel like you needed the drug, or 'cause I'm sitting here thinking that you were never really an addict, or did you just do it because of the people that you were hanging out with and you just had nothing really anything else to do?
Well,
did you wake up in the morning needing that drug? It was like a curiosity thing at first, and well, I'm starting to think he wasn't ever an addict. It was just kind of like a thing that he was. Yeah, he was just a phase or something that you went through.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's what I don't really know for 100% sure, because I mean, it's not like just one day I was like, I'm quitting, and it wasn't like cold turkey or nothing like that. And I mean, even still, like to this day, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I could really either take a pill or smoke some weed or something like that. But
in like stressful moments, you would say?
Yeah.
See, that's the difference between me and Dylan and you, is because you've had that experience. You know what it feels like.
Yeah.
Me and Dylan, we never had that, so we don't even know what it feels like to use a drug to see that effect. So like when we're stressed out, we do certain things to relieve our stress. Like I use the gym. So that I guess that it's not comparable, but again, like we don't know what that's like. So for you to be in a stressful moment or something like that, you'd be like, hey, like this pill's gonna take that instant, like right away.
Yeah, and I mean when I was doing, it's like when I was doing that stuff, it's like I didn't have to think, feel, or care about.
They say your mind just like wanders. It just doesn't even. You don't think about nothing. And
I mean, I definitely wasn't like physically dependent on anything.
Gotcha.
Definitely like, I don't know, strong urges or cravings or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say it was easy.
Yeah.
But I definitely like decided that it wasn't what I wanted to do, and yeah, I mean, and that was another reason why I was a little hesitant to reach out to you guys, because I was like, well, I don't know if I was really considered an addict, but when I look back on it, it's one of those things that you don't really realize, one, if there was a problem or if there was anything wrong, because you think you're functioning fine. You're mostly doing what you're supposed to be doing, and but then when you think like you're high on something pretty much 24/7, and that's just not a healthy way to live. And I mean, like, and I was talking to my mom about it a little bit, and I was thinking like, I feel like majority of people, we're just not really taught how to deal with our problems, our stress in healthy manners.
Yep.
And even like, because I was thinking about, I was like, even when you hear somebody they're like working all day, it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go home and have a couple beers, or if it was like a tough day or something.
I get that all the time.
It's like, I mean, I guess it works for you, but is that a healthy way to deal with your stress and your problems? No.
Yeah. That's true. I like how you said that. We really don't grow up knowing how to deal with stress. And if somebody recommends like a therapist or something like that, you're like, no, I ain't going because now I got a problem.
There's a stigma on that too.
It's a stigma. It's the way people see you. It's how you judge yourself versus other people.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, and even thankfully my parents were like super open to like therapy and stuff like that, because even I mean, I think like maybe around 9th grade, I went to therapy for a little bit.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and the doctor said I had depression and social anxiety and stuff like that. And I mean, the weird thing about, the only reason I don't like therapy is because, yeah, it helps, but once you say, all right, I'm going to therapy, it's not like, all right, I can go for like 2 or 3 times. I think I'm good. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
They're like, you need to be here for like an extended period of time to truly make sure that whatever your issues are worked through, and you know what you're dealing with. And that's the other thing, that there's been mental health issues in my family throughout, and I don't know if that has anything to do with the proneness to try different things. And
so how do you cope with your stress now?
I don't know.
Like, you don't use drugs anymore. You don't look for drugs anymore for that.
Nah.
So when you have like a stressful moment or a bad day or something like that, you kind of just deal with it. Or do you search for like maybe the gym or like
I guess mostly.
Or do you look for support from her?
Yeah, good support, and just trying to stay positive in the beginning of everything. Like when people get like super stressed out about work or whatever, when you gotta look at the big picture sometimes, and is it all really that worth getting
worked up over something
worked up and super stressed out about? And even like just trying to be around positive people is a big thing that
Very big.
realized like recently, that like, cause you know, like you got like people at work that like all they do complaining all day long,
Yep.
have
Yep,
nothing
get that.
good to say,
Construction all the time.
and yeah, if you like hang out around that person more at work, then work sucks. You're like,
Yeah.
this is terrible.
It affects you in a way too.
Yeah, but,
Sometimes you don't even realize it affects you.
yeah, and that's what, and it's like weird to say, like just trying to pay attention to like what you're feeling, what your body's telling you, and
Yep.
stuff like that, and it'll be surprising on what like you pick up on, and yeah, just even being around more positive people, it feels better than if you're hanging out with a bunch of people that are miserable.
Yeah. Being in tune with your true emotions. And I'm sure
Yeah.
your kid has a big impact on that.
Yeah, and she's a good stress reliever. Like
She's smiling all the time.
you have a bad day or whatever, and
Something
you
to
know,
look forward to.
yeah, something to look forward to. You know, she's always gonna be happy, and she's just a little ball of joy over there.
She always has a little present for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I know, like, I've been off last week, and I'm going to be off this week, too, from work. And I realized, like, when I go back, even quarantine, like, quarantine was the best thing because I find my true self. And when I'm at work, I get in this routine. And then when you see the same people, the same things every day, you always fall into that same routine. You always get the same emotions. And like you said, like, being around negativity all the time, it sucks because I waste a lot of energy and a lot of my life, like, thinking about the stupidest things every day. Like the job that I'm working my butt off for what? For another person's dream.
yeah.
And it sucks. It really does. But I use the gym as an outlet, which is good. But
That's why you gotta start your own business.
Yeah, I know. Maybe one day I'll get there. But you guys got any other questions?
No, I just want to say you don't look stressed.
No, you look really.
You look
I always,
positive.
I always
I've
remember
never-
you as laid back in high school.
Yeah.
You're just very laid back.
Always
That's because
been
he was
super laid
marijuana all the
back.
time.
No, but even when I was younger, my parents always said I was super laid back kid. But
Yeah.
like even like just like trying to deal with anxiety and stuff like that. Even like Bree has some anxiety, and I think just as the older you get, when you realize like, I mean, you gotta put yourself in new situations, or else you're
Yep.
never gonna grow. And once you realize that you're gonna be fine, and even though it might be awkward or whatever, you're gonna figure out what you need to do to be more comfortable and less stressed out.
I think everybody struggles with anxiety and depression
Yeah.
at some point in their life.
And then I think that's also something that I don't think people understand it really, that like, cause the other, like, I was kind of with Dylan, like when he said like, why can't people just stop doing drugs? Like,
Yeah.
but I think it's a bit of a mental illness too, that like, if you've ever been like really depressed and people are like, just why can't you be happy? Is like, you don't think I don't want to be happy?
Yeah,
Like it's
That's a good point. Yeah.
it's
Well, I mean, depression is a disease, so it's
Yeah, we just learned
Yeah.
that in the last podcast.
and I mean, I was on like medication for depression a little bit, and it definitely helps, but I, for the most part, think some people, they definitely do need medication to help them, because I mean, sometimes it's just a major chemical imbalance in your brain, and there's no amount of positive energy or whatever
Yep.
you could do to fix that. But even just for some people to get to the point where they've tried so many different things to try and figure out, even like prescribed things from a doctor to figure out what is gonna get them in the right place. And that's the other thing. If you've always felt that way, you don't know what you're supposed to feel like.
Yep.
So like, you don't have anything to reference it off of if you've always been like super depressed, you
Yeah.
can't be like, oh yeah, this is the way I'm supposed to
Yeah,
feel.
it's true.
It's kind of scary. I mean, we talk about depression, and so I never really had depression till after Kyle passed away, and so I knew how I felt, and it's scary when you lose control and you don't know how to feel, like, and you just want to get that back. So I think everybody struggles with that, but to have it from a young age into adulthood is probably harder than to have it like, so it would be chronic depression because you've always had it, or acute, I think, is when you just have it over a certain situation.
Yeah, I think that's what she
I
said.
think that's what she said. So I can appreciate, like, you struggled with it for a long time. How am I supposed to feel? But then when you feel good and then it happens to you, it scares you, because then in that place you're like, oh my gosh, like, what happened to me? What's going on in my head right now? It's not normal. It's not how I normally feel.
Yeah, and I think deep down people really don't want to change either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if you are a better version of yourself, they're like, well, is this really me, or
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
either medication or whatever, you know?
Yep.
Yep. So I just have to say I appreciate, like, you coming today before we wrap it up, because you reached out, and that's what we're here for, and you're going to help somebody. So you're not the story that we've had so far where I've been to 20 rehabs and this. Like, you're a normal, not normal, the
Average.
normie. I'm going back to that lady, normie.
Yeah, you'll hear
But-
that in the new podcast.
But you're one of these folks that want to help people too, and you're here
Yeah.
to share your story. I mean, you talked to your mother about it. Bree's here with you. Little Ellie's here with you. And we appreciate all of yous coming, because if we can help one person, you know, somebody may listen to this podcast who got to the point where you got, where somebody's saying to them, you probably shouldn't do this, and they're going to turn away from it because you just shared your story.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
everybody says my story's not as in depth, it's not as important. Every story is important.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't
in-
compare
in
stories
this.
around
Yeah.
here.
Like every story is important, because your story may touch somebody that's affected the way that you were.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what is I think just letting people know, no matter how small or how little or severe your situation is, there's always people out there that are going to be supportive and want to help you out, and
Yep.
just don't be afraid to reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
Yep, awesome.
I think that's the biggest thing reaching out, because if I put myself in your shoes, like it would take a lot for me to reach out and be like, hey, like I want to be on your podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think no matter the situation, everybody's always scared of rejection, and
Yeah, but that's what makes
Yeah.
you grow. But yeah, I appreciate you guys being on. Bree, you have anything else you want to say?
I don't think so.
Dad, you got anything to say?
Just
Dylan?
a cute little family.
Just thanks for coming out.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
yeah,
Hey,
thanks
thank
for having
you.
me.
All right, guys.
Ellie has something
Catch you on
to
the next
say.
one. Say bye, Ellie.
Say bye.
See you guys.